Welcome to the Hobby Jogger podcast, where elite athletes and ham and eggers lace up their stories. We explore the common ground that running creates, from the world-class runner to the hobbyist hitting the pavement, trail, or treadmill. Expect a blend of inspiration, laughter, and the shared joy that makes every step count. Join us on this journey where every run is a story worth sharing. Welcome to this week's episode of Hobby Jogger. We have a very special episode this week. We're going to be doing a little review of the Grindstone 50k. I have my co-host, Mr. Rob Myers, with me today. Hello, Rob. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Out in the camper, sitting in a Cracker Barrel at the moment, so we can put together this episode. I'm looking forward to it.
Heck yeah, go get some of that maple syrup. It's one of my favorites. Always down for a Cracker Barrel breakfast.
Breakfast for dinner.
Breakfast all the time is what I say. And today we are joined by a friend of ours, Mr. Jason Cox, who was out at Grindstone with us, did some camping with us. Jason, how are you?
Doing well. How you doing, gents?
Hanging in there. I survived Akron Marathon Day. That was today. I live at mile 23 and a half, so it's awesome. You could see some explosions, a lot of carnage right there. You know, some projectile vomit onto the street right outside. So
brilliant. Yes.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Did you get some pictures?
I try not to take pictures because I wouldn't want someone taking a picture of me doing well.
Yeah, but you're not running, so you can take a picture.
Yeah.
You'll never see it.
No, we'll definitely never see it. No, didn't take any pictures. Just sat down there, drank some beers, and watched the carnage unfold. And yeah, there's plenty of carnage today in the Akron Marathon. So very cool. So yeah, we just got back from Grindstone. I thought it was a good race. Jason, Rob, what were your feelings of the Grindstone 50K?
A little different than yours, Casey. A little different than yours. We started out the same, feeling pretty good. So just to kind of lay it out, at least the portion of the course that I was running, able to run, went about 3.5 miles of road from the start, and then probably one of the gnarliest climbs I've ever been on, all the way up to the ridge. That was pretty good. Enjoyed that, huffing and puffing at the top. Some time on the ridge, the single track, very technical, right, Casey? Just like you warned me.
Yeah, maybe don't listen to me, because I actually got on that and I was like, damn, I forgot how tough this was. Yeah, it's a little bit rockier than I remember.
To your defense, Casey, you were running in the middle of a hurricane.
I listened to the episode where you mentioned that it was, I thought you said it was all downhill. It was a very runnable track, right?
Well, yeah, maybe my course descriptions aren't the best. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I did hit that section. I did kind of feel bad because I was like, man, I think I told him this section was nice, and yeah, it's pretty rocky. It was it was a little rooty, rocky. I passed a hornet's nest, got stung.
There were a lot of nests. There were a lot of nests out there.
I only saw the one. I kept my head down and just kind of plowed through it, got stung, took one on the leg. That leg actually felt a lot better. So maybe we'll have like a bee expert on or something to explain why my left leg wasn't sore, but my right was. I think maybe we talked about that a little bit afterwards, right, Rob?
Yeah, we're starting that new business venture. Remember?
Yeah, like
getting stung, the healing tent, release a ton of hornets, and you come out the other side feeling better.
Recovery bees.
Yeah, and the recovery tent. We're still working on the name.
Name will come to us, I feel like.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little tougher course than I remembered. The climb, a little bit steeper, a little bit longer than I remembered, especially towards the top. And then it got rocky at the top. But the downhill I thought was pretty nice. That was smooth and runnable. But
yeah, I enjoyed that. So Rob, you mentioned the first 3 or 4 miles was road. But then after about aid station 1, there was a mountain bike track there, right? Trail. Going into aid station 2, there was a mountain bike trail, and that was actually very runnable. And I enjoyed that portion of the race. But then coming out of aid station 2, it was all uphill. So I think, I looked at my watch, and I think most of the elevation gain was probably after aid station 2.
Yeah, for sure. That was a long long climb. And yeah, it was a lot hotter than I remembered being in the hurricane. That definitely played a large factor too. It was very humid. Dew point, high dew point. We don't like dew point here at the Hobby Jogger.
It was warm, that's for sure. Yep. So after the first climb, running on the ridge, feeling good. And I'm just telling my story. You know, Casey, Jason have very different stories, but Jason and I were running together for a period of time, and Jason felt like pulling ahead a little bit, so he got ahead of me. And I have my trusty poles with me. I'm on the track, feeling pretty good, even though it's really, really hot. And I put my left pole down, and all of a sudden it sinks into the ground really, really far. Left ankle rolls. I'm in pain. Get back up. Now things change. Now I'm slowing down. I'm just kind of limping along. Eventually I make it to the aid station, but Casey, Jason, you guys were way ahead of me.
Jason, how far ahead of Rob were you?
So I don't actually. So I heard later that we came through the aid station. I think it might have been number 2, and I think I was 20 minutes ahead. But like that's what I was saying earlier. So I had a really good pace. I had probably about a 12 for myself anyway. It was probably about a 12:30 pace going into aid station 2. Yeah, I think it was maybe 20 minutes. I think I had it by 20 minutes, which is actually not terribly fast considering you got your ankle in a hole there.
Yeah, rolled ankle's tough.
So I'm in the back of the pack. Jason, you go through aid station 2. Casey, I don't know where you are. You're probably already past aid station 3. You can probably see the finish line. You're so far ahead of us. But Jason, what happened after aid station 2?
So after aid station 2, I was feeling pretty good coming out of it. And then during that climb, so that's where I started to slow down. This time around, so I've done 4 of these now, four ultras. So I'm fairly new to the ultra trail running. But this time around, what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I stayed hydrated. But instead of putting water in my pack, I used the electrolytes that they had at the aid station, which I think might have been a bad move. I should have probably just had water because I started cramping up real bad. I think I had a salt tab after I started cramping up after that first climb. Usually the salt tabs, they take away my cramps almost instantly, but this time around it was a no-go. So I think the largest climb. Do you know what the elevation gain was after that second aid station? I think it was a lot, right?
After aid station, yeah, that's it's pretty significant. I'm not sure on the exact, but it's like 5,500 total, I think is what I ended up getting on my watch. And that's a pretty significant portion of, because it's really 3 climbs is the whole race. That first big one, that's pretty steep. And then that middle one, which is very long. The bottom part wasn't steep, which was pretty nice. Let me see if I can pull it up here.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to stop the cramping after that climb after the second aid station. So it got pretty bad. And what time I came into aid station 3? So Rob, what time did you get into aid station 2? So
I don't remember 2, but I think it was maybe 15, 20 minutes before aid station 2 cut off.
Okay, before the cutoff. Okay. Yeah. So I came in just before the cutoff for aid station 3, but again, I blew up. I was cramping up real bad.
Well, tough day for the cramping for sure. Because like I said, the humidity, my hamstrings were feeling it going up the last climb. Like it was starting to get to me. I actually did make a mistake. Because I take 4 bottles of basically electrolytes tailwind with me, two in the pack that are not filled. And I guess somehow when I cleaned out my pack, one of them I didn't even use. So that probably was not the thing to do. I pulled out, I guess, the used one and refilled it with water with no electrolytes and no tailwind in it, which, what do I use? Like 37 grams of carbs for it. So yeah, that was not good for a hot day like that. And that probably explains why the cramping started for me towards the end. Yeah, you change something up, Jason. That's what we do as runners. We always change stuff on race day, and sometimes it works and most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but normally what I do is that once I get up after that first aid station, I usually just fill the pack with water. But this time around, every time I took a sip, I just felt more thirsty. So I don't know if it was the heat. It was one of those races, just didn't have it in me today, or that day. So yeah, kind of a bummer, but maybe it was that. So we did it. We didn't talk about this, but we did a low country boil the night before.
And nothing to do with the boil. The boil was great. No, the boil was great. I'm not blaming it on the boil.
Yeah.
But we did get a special prize that day, Jason. First prize we've ever received in that category, and that is a DNF. So we did not finish. Nope.
I was trying to avoid that.
Accept it. Yeah. My ego is still crushed by that DNF, but we'll recover with the next one. That is the end of the race for Jason and I. That was aid station 3. So let's talk about Casey's glory. Take it away, Casey.
Well, I gotta say it's an unnecessarily tight cutoff, because after aid station 3, you're still on the same exact course with the 100-mile and 100K. So they're not shutting down any aid stations. You know what I mean? Like you could have a little bit longer, and it is, now that I remember, it's a little bit fresher in my mind. It is a pretty tough course. Like, I just looked it up, and it's a 5.77 mile climb with 1,900 feet of elevation gain. So that's 6.6% grade. I did my math right. I don't think I did. We're not math experts here. We're hobby joggers. If I did it correctly, though, that's a lot. I feel like the cutoff was.
It was very aggressive.
I think I executed everything as well as I could. And I didn't negative split, which I wanted to, but I came very, very close. This is the first time I've come that close to negative splitting a 50K. It's a little bit tougher than 10-mile race to do. I think I've got some things figured out. For one, actually use the stuff that I bring onto the course with me would help. I think that would be, generally, if you bring it, you should use it. We'll work on that for the next one. Hopefully things go better out at Canyons in that regard. Overall, I know UTMB's taken, a little bit of heat. Some of it rightfully so, some of it not. My biggest complaint, and I actually filled out the race survey. Did you two fill out the race survey afterwards? I did it just so I could complain about the food truck that they had. That was I went through the entire, it was pretty long. It was like 5 minutes to fill out. And I usually won't do anything that's longer than like a minute or two. But I actually filled out the entire thing just so I could tell them how bad the food truck was. They only had a corn dog food truck at the finish line.
Yeah, and when you finish a race, you need to have good food, right? You want a beer, you want a burger, you want a couple of hot dogs, not just a corn dog. And it was a mediocre corn dog, if I'm being honest. Man, and it was $10. $10 for a corn dog.
Yeah, when you're paying food truck prices, it better be good. I can't imagine you couldn't get, because I know some food, I'm in the food industry, so I know some food truck owners and operators. And I just can't imagine you couldn't get a better one with a captive market like you had there at the finish line of a race out in the middle of nowhere. Because was it 20 minutes to the nearest place to eat afterwards? Like, I'm not the RD. I did not organize it. I hate to complain because I would never want to be in that situation to have to organize all that. But I feel like that's something that could have easily been fixed, was the food truck situation. The food truck situation and the cutoff time, I feel like those are two easy fixes.
Now, it was a beautiful course.
I agree too.
I was pretty much hiking it towards the end, so I got to see quite a bit of it. Beautiful course. I mean, the park is amazing. The chimneys are amazing. Not the best put on by UTMB, in my opinion. The other races I've run a little bit better. That said, I've only done a handful of them. The ones out west seem to have just a little more behind them.
Hey folks, if you're loving the stories, tips, and laughs we're dishing out, make sure you don't miss an episode. Hit that subscribe button so you're the first to know when a new episode drops. And hey, if you've got a second, why not leave us a review? Your feedback helps us improve and keeps this running community growing. Lace up, hit subscribe, and let's get back into the show. I get it. It's kind of a remote spot. You're not really. We have no. If you didn't have your Starlink, we have no cell service. Well, Jason did. Jason had cell service. We did not.
That's a much longer conversation.
I did. Yeah.
Much longer conversation. But yeah, overall, I mean, I thought it was everything else. I thought was pretty well. Like, the course could have been marked a little bit better. The 50K turn was like kind of abrupt, and I could see how people could miss it, or I could see how we did see some 100Ks that took it that shouldn't have. I could see that, like maybe post someone up there to let people know for a little bit, like not the worst idea. But again, I'm not the RD. I just, maybe nitpicking.
Overall, we had a lot of fun.
We did have a lot of fun. We had the boil. Jason put on the boil, which is part of why we like doing these, is just hang out with our friends.
Yep. I really enjoyed doing and sharing that with you guys too, because that was good. One thing I will say is the campsite was really nice. It was one of the nicer campsites I've ever been to. That was a plus. And it really was. It was a beautiful course.
So Canyons is next, and I think both of you will be there. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I am registered. Jason, you registered?
I am.
I have Will trying to get me to register for the big Alta as well. So maybe we'll do two this spring. I don't know that I can handle it, but we'll maybe give it a go. We'll see. There is one thing we should probably discuss. I don't know if either of you two saw it. The Wikipedia controversy. Did either of you see that, Rob?
Yeah, dug into it quite as much as you have. Why don't you give us an update on the details?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I followed it too much. I just saw a blip of what it is. Ms. Camille Herron, allegedly, I guess we should definitely say allegedly, because allegedly, maybe, supposedly, she was caught editing Wikipedia entries of other runners. And to me, that is very petty, Tom Petty, but she took a lot of heat for it. I don't know. I just, my personal opinion of her is, and you have to be an athlete at that level, you have to be some kind of way. You have to be wired a little bit differently. Like, things aren't going to look like, she goes out onto a track and runs for 6 straight days. I'm not going to do that. Rob, Jason, I imagine you two aren't going to do that, right?
Not yet.
No. So you have to be like a little bit different. Like, I don't know. Now part of me kind of feels a little bit bad for her, like people piling on, like it's done. Hopefully she gets a little bit of help, but it's also a good point that why we shouldn't look up to athletes or put them on a pedestal, because oftentimes we don't really know how they are, any athlete. And that's why one of the reasons I don't root for athletes unless I know them. Like even pro sports, I could sit there, I go to the Tottenham Hotspur bar. I don't know any of the players. Well, I know who Harry Kane is because Annie thinks he's really good looking, and she always reminds me that he's really good looking. So I know him. But other than that, like I don't know, because you don't know them. So I just root for the teams, and I like to watch the sports. But I think it's probably a good reminder that we're all just out here jogging around a mountain, a track, or whatever. It's not that serious. I get it. Some people make a living doing this. Let them be serious about it. Maybe not to the point where we edit each other's Wikipedia articles to remove fluff.
Everyone deserves their day in court, Casey. So I still feel bad for her a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, they do, but I'm not the court. I've seen the evidence. I am the jury. Yeah, part of me does feel bad for her because, like I said, when you're wired to run for 6 straight days, you're probably taking those wires from another part of your brain to connect into that. And that's probably the part of the brain that would be like, hey, maybe we shouldn't edit Wikipedia articles because they have things called IP addresses and such that can definitely track us. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. I don't know. Jason, you have any thoughts on editing competitors' Wikipedia articles?
So this was news to me. So no, somebody can go in there and put an entry in for myself, and you can put anything in there if you want. So it's no, I wasn't aware of this. This was news to me.
Now here's a question I have for you, Jason, because you're like us, you're hobby joggers, but you're not into like the scene, I guess, quite as much as we are. Do you know who Camille Herron is?
Actually, no, I don't think I've ever heard of Camille Herron.
Yeah, and that's like, most people haven't, because she's a very niche part of a niche sport. Like I said, running around a track for 6 days at a time. It's a tough sport to watch to do that. Like, I doubt the stream gets a lot of viewers for 6 straight days. It's not UTMB. It's not, even Western States, which is tough to watch for 14, 15 hours, I think. So, yeah, that's that. I hope Camille makes amends with the community. And hey, the sport needs a bad boy, bad girl, bad whatever. And maybe she'll fill that role that kind of gives a little bit better storyline for people to talk about going forward. We wish her well, right, Rob?
We do. Put a positive spin at the end there, right?
Maybe she'll come on the show for her redemption tour. You think?
She should. Should be number one on the list.
Well, she did DNF at the Spartathlon today. Unfortunately, never want to see anyone DNF. You guys know that, so.
So about last week's podcast with DJ. I mean, that was amazing. That guy's an animal. What he was able to accomplish. I've gone back and listened to that podcast a couple of times. I mean, just amazing.
Yeah, that's a cool dude there. That's the kind of guy, you know, a couple of them, people like that around you that just, they have their sights set on something. They're so determined, and you absolutely know, no matter what happens, they are going to finish it. And yeah, it was pretty cool to hear him just talk about, you know, failed the year before, but hey, I'm going to come back and I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to make some adjustments and do things a little bit better the next time. And yeah, awesome story DJ gave us. Really cool how he walks us through. Like I said, we could have done probably 3 hours on the whole thing. There were so many stories we could have got into and little things.
After many hours of editing, it's still our longest podcast. I mean, there was so much good content. We had to stop cutting. I mean, I think the final length was 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's still our longest podcast. And we started out with 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I mean, he's just a great storyteller. It was hard to find something to cut out. I mean, it just works so well together. So to your point, yeah, it could have been a three-part series, but we don't have that much time here.
No, we don't. We definitely don't. And yeah, could have been a lot longer. I know we had to leave some, you know, good stuff on the editing floor, but that's what happens. You know, you gotta, you know, try and make it as consumable product as possible. And my friend Christine was very upset that we didn't get to talk about her divorce on the show. I had to let her know that we had to cancel that section out. She was very upset. So maybe we'll get that in there some other time.
We'll find a home for it.
Perfect. Chrissy, we got the clip. Don't worry. It will be aired at some point. That's good. Yeah. And up next week, we got another good show coming up. My favorite race, the one we often refer to on this show, the Laurel Highlands, which now has a fall classic, which runs backwards, which is awesome. Maybe one of the tougher courses, 50K courses out there running backwards. And we get to talk to the race director, Dan. That'll be a good conversation as well. I've not yet, I guess we don't film it since we audio record it. We have not yet recorded the show, but knowing Dan and knowing the kind of content that we've talked about before with him will be another great show. Can't wait to hear about the Fall Classic out at Laurel Highlands. Beautiful area this time of year.
I look forward to the Laurel Highlands every year. I mean, Ohio is just an amazing little town. That whole area is beautiful. How many times have you run Laurel at this point, Casey?
3 straight years of either being in the relay. I've done the 50K the last 2 years. Maybe next year we get Jason to come up, you know, take a little trip. Jason, leave the kids home. Well, the littlest one can come. Leave the oldest one at home, please.
Yes. You were listening to the FM radio on the way home, right?
Gosh, yeah. I took the most severe burn of my life ever, and it was awesome. I was so happy about it. Like, first off, your daughter's hysterical, like absolutely hysterical. I simply asked Jason's daughter, "Have you heard of Blink 182?" Looks me dead in the eye, completely deadpan. We don't listen to radio.
Well, she's not wrong. I mean, they are played on the FM radio.
Yeah, they are. And I was just like, wow, I'm just going to go crawl in my sleeping quarters here and just, that's it for me. How you doing? Keep it moving. So yeah, brutal takedown by a 12-year-old. Like, its ego was savagely ripped apart.
Well, we'll leave that one at home. We'll leave her at home.
Yeah, we'll just leave her at home. Bring the younger one. She's very nice. Yeah. The oldest one, not welcome anymore. Well, what I'm hoping is she actually shares this with all of her friends and they all like and subscribe to the show.
Always thinking one step ahead, Casey. I love it.
Yeah. Her getting some acclaim for tearing down some poor 40-year-old guy, you know.
We'll tell Eleanor to be a little nicer next time.
Yes. Which also shout out to Jason for naming his daughter after the Gone in 60 Seconds car. I thought that was awesome.
Yes, yes.
An important thing of the trip, Jason, did the wife and kids have fun on the trip?
Yes, they did. They had a blast. They really did enjoy themselves. So,
I don't have children, but it does seem like if you're going to do an ultra, that is a very good place to do it with a campground. They have, you're going camping with the family, you're gone for, 6-9 hours, whatever, while you run it. It seems like a pretty cool overall family activity for someone that's, likes to run ultras and has kids.
That's like I said too. The facilities were really nice, so they did enjoy it. There were a lot of games of Uno, and they got a chance to relax and read books, and they did enjoy the chimney rocks there. So that was great.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, I enjoyed seeing them have. And the boil is something that should be a staple from now on from any ultra. I think we do. We got to have a boil. I think, Rob. What do you think?
Yes. So, Jason, tell us what a low country boil is and how one would put together a low country boil.
Yeah, so you basically get the biggest pot you can find. It depends on how many people you're gonna feed, but it's designed to be shared with a lot of people. So it's outdoor cooking. You get yourself a pot burner, largest pot you can find, fill it with water, and really the only seasoning that you use that I use is Old Bay seasoning. So probably about a cup of Old Bay seasoning, and then you just start filling the pot once you bring it to a boil with just the food that you have around. So we used potatoes, corn, onions, kielbasa, spicy and smoked sausage, and shrimp. So before I came up to Virginia, I made sure to stop at the local fishmonger and get some local shrimp. Cleaned it because traditionally you don't have to clean it. You can just do a peel and eat style. But for the Northerners, I was a little nicer. I said, okay, I'm going to clean these shrimp for y'all. So
appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I thought you would. So yeah, you just you start that boil. You do probably the potatoes first, and then the 10 minutes, then add your onions and kielbasa, another 10 minutes, and then the corn, 10 minutes probably, and then at the very end you just add that shrimp because it doesn't take long. And then once you're done there, you pour it out onto a table, right? So just start digging in with your hands. You can use a plate if you want. Again, it's designed to be family style. Everyone eat with your hands, and it was a big hit. I think people, because we started that boil as the 100-mile racers were starting to go to the finish line, and everyone was kind of like, oh man, we could smell that all across the campsite, right? So it was a really big hit. We invited the campsite hosts over to take part in our boil with us. So yeah, but Rob, I agree with you. I think that might be the finisher next time, right? The only reason why I wanted to start it before the race was because the shrimp was fresh.
Yeah, I don't think you can just hold on to shrimp very long. I feel like they have a very...
Yeah, but some people do crab too. I mean, you could do crab or crawfish, whatever the local crustacean is.
It was quite tasty.
Maybe we'll do pierogies. We'll throw some pierogies in there.
Let's see how that is. Yeah.
So yeah, that was it was an eventful trip. It was fun. I had a blast. I had a great time. Had some bad storms roll through. That was even pretty cool. That's always a good part of the story. Can't control the weather, and it's we had a great time. Part of what the running community is. It's a big part of what the running community is, being able to go out to these events and just hang out with people. That's how I met Jason for the first time. We both showed up to Black Canyon and, hey man, what's up, dude? How are you? Yeah, nice to meet you. And now we go to Virginia together. So that's really cool of the scene of what running community for sure is.
Absolutely.
This wraps up our episode of this week's Hobby Jogger and Friends. Jason Cox, thank you so much for joining the show. We certainly appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Say hello to the family for us, except Eleanor.
Will do. Thanks, Jess, for having me. It was great. Really enjoyed spending time with you out on the trail, and looking forward to the next. And so appreciate it.
Yep, we'll see you in Auburn, California in April. Looking forward to it. Rob, as always, thank you so much, sir.
Casey, have a great evening. We will talk soon.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Hobby Jogger. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support keeps us moving forward. Until next time, keep those feet moving, and enjoy the mile.